Okay, I move that we reconvene this meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Commissioner Toya seconds, Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito,
Yes.
Commissioner Toya.
Yes.
I vote yes, and we are back. Calling calendar numbers 422-22-Z and 423-22-Z, the 1741 North Mozart. If you are here in objection or support, please raise your hand and we will get you promoted. Okay, I can see we've got Councilor Castro, got Mr. Purwitt, and we have Jeff Brennan. So I think we have all of your witnesses. Mr. Brennan, if you could state your name and address, please.
Sure. Jeff Brennan, 1741 North Mozart Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60647.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Purwitt, could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Hemal Purohit, P.S. Paul, U-R-O-H-I-T-S Tom, and I'm a licensed architect in the state of Illinois. Address is 251 Bradwell Road, Inverness, Illinois, 60010. Thank you.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do.
Thank you. Councilor Castro, we do not
Yes.
have any objectors, so you can proceed with the short form.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the board. My name is Jimena Castro. I am a zoning attorney at Acosta Ezger, a zoning attorney for the applicant for the matter before you today for the property located at 1741 North Mozart. As noted, Jeff Brennan, who is the owner and applicant, is present with us today, as well as the architect, Hemal Purohit. And with that, a bit of background, and then I'll go straight into the affidavits. The subject lot, as noted, is located at 1741 North Mozart. It is a substandard parcel, 100 feet in depth, that is improved with a single-family home and a first floor rear open deck, a second floor rear deck, also some people may call it a balcony, and a 2-car detached garage and garage roof deck. The applicant is seeking a variation to reduce the rear yard setback by 4.61 feet from the required setback to allow and maintain a rear open deck and bridge connection and open access stair for an existing garage roof deck, and also is seeking a variation to relocate the rear yard open space to the existing garage roof deck. It is notable that the first floor rear open deck will maintain the elevation of the previous first floor rear open deck. And the hardships in this case is the substandard size of the lot and the height of the existing rear door that exits into the rear yard. And with that, Jeff, good afternoon. We submitted an affidavit on your behalf. If you were to testify today, would your testimony be consistent with what was discussed today by me and what was submitted on your behalf?
Yes, it would.
Thank you. And Hemal, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We submitted an affidavit on your behalf. If you were to testify today, would your testimony be consistent with the testimony I gave today and also with the affidavit that was submitted on your behalf?
Yes, it would.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I do have some questions on this one. Can you talk a little bit about, my understanding from looking through was that the applicant had started building without permits, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and who was your general contractor?
That was Miguel Cuevas.
did he have a company or was it just an individual?
Just an individual.
Okay. And were there any discussions about permits or, you know, any relief needed in order to build?
Nothing about relief needed to build. We met, was actually building the single family home next to us, and got to know him that way. And we're talking about our plans to build a garage. When it came time to actually launch the project, his counsel was that he builds with and without permits often, and that basically pulling permits is a very difficult, arduous, lengthy process. And given his personal project timeline, he recommended that we move forward with the project and we could have it done very quickly, and it wouldn't be an issue. I'll acknowledge that it was a bad choice to follow his advice in this. But what my wife and I want is to make this right with the city and follow all proper procedures at this point.
Okay, so just to make and I appreciate the honesty, to make the record clear. So you knew when you were building that you weren't getting the permits that you needed to build, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I'm sorry, you broke up. You may want to turn your camera off. It sometimes helps with the feed.
My apologies. Yes, that is correct.
Okay. What is what's the size of the lot?
So it is 25 by 100 feet. And
Okay.
I do want to note that due to the existing elevation of the rear door that has remained unchanged, and the deck that was previously there that went up to the same elevation as the current deck, that and Hamal, the architect, can share a little bit more about this. But if Jeff would have gone through with permits and would have done this, differently, he would have sought the same relief due to the height of the rear door.
Okay.
And of course, the substandard depth of the lot.
May I ask a question? This is Commissioner Esposito. Who is the
Yes.
architect of what we're looking at right now?
So it is so this was drawn without plan. This was completed without plans. And in 2020, Jeff hired Hemmel's company, and he drew the plans to obtain a permit. And now we're here in front of the board.
Any other questions from the board?
Yes, again, Commissioner Esposito, does this contractor continue to do projects for you?
No, he does not.
Has anybody looked into the cost, if we don't grant this, the relief requested, what the cost is to demolish this?
Jeff, I'll leave you to answer that question.
No, I've not looked into it yet. I would expect it to be significant. But
How much more? Oh, sorry, continue.
At this point, I don't know.
Okay.
Well, you may be able to compel the contractor who did the work without permits to demolish it without a fee. That would be one route to take.
How much have you put into this already to build this?
I would estimate around 70,000.
Well, you are correct that you know this was not a wise decision to do what you did. And for anybody listening or watching the live feed, it is never a good idea to build without permits, and in the hopes that you won't get caught, because then you find yourself in an unfortunate position, as Mr. Brennan finds himself right now. But I do appreciate the honesty that you've given us today. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Again, Commissioner Esposito, did the contractor suggest that this project would require a variation if you did go?
No.
He did not. No. You know, I'd like to reiterate, but to sort of emphasize that his counsel to move forward without a permit was for expediency, but not to shortcut and regulations or requirements for a safe structure that was critical to us. We had no idea that the layout would violate any policies.
Well,
And in addition, as I may add, the previous deck that existed there when Jeff and Allison, his wife, also an owner, purchased the lot, was at the height of the existing rear door. So to streamline the access to the garage roof deck, they decided to maintain that existing same height, to extend it to the back of the garage, and then to add access stairs for the garage roof deck.
Right, but they lost the nonconformity once they demolished it.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, we will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
Your
Thank you.
time.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is 424-22-S. This is 2608 West Addison. If you are here in objection or support, please raise your hand and we will get you promoted. Okay, it looks like we've got everybody. Sister Ryan, could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Sister Catherine Ryan. I'm at 1150 North River Road in Des Plaines, Illinois.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do.
Thank you. Jerry Kelly, could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, Jerry Kelly, 1918 North Mundell Street, Chicago, 60642.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do.
Thank you. And Terrence O'Brien, could you state your name and address, please?
Terrence O'Brien, O''Brien, maintain offices at 145 Revere Drive, Northbrook, Illinois.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do.
Thank you, and the board recognizes your expertise.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and read the Department of Planning and Development's recommendation with regard to this matter. This is the recommendation for calendar number 424-22-S. The Department of Planning and Development recommends approval of the proposed transitional shelter for up to 10 children at a given time, provided the special use is issued solely to the applicant, Maryville Academy, and the development is consistent with the design and layout of the site plan dated September 9, 2022, and floor plan dated July 12, 2022, prepared by MKB Architects. With that, Councillor Duncan, we do not have any objectors, and you are free to do the short form.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Kate Duncan. I'm here with Jack George. We're both attorneys at Ackerman LLP with offices located at 71 South Wacker Drive. I'm appearing this afternoon on behalf of the applicant Maryville Academy in connection with the special use application for property located at 2608 West Addison Street. Present this afternoon are Sister Kathy Ryan, who is the Executive Director for Maryville, Jerry Kelly, who is the architect from MKB Architects, and Terry O'Brien, who is our real estate appraiser. The subject property is zoned M1-1 Limited Manufacturing / Business Park District, and it's currently improved with an existing commercial building. A portion of the building contains medical service uses, and a portion of the building was formerly used as a daycare, and this is the portion of the building that Maryville is proposing to use now. Maryville is seeking a special use to operate a transitional shelter on the property. The program will be called St. Catherine of Siena and will serve a maximum of 10 children in the care of the Department of Children and Family Services, DCFS, who have medical complexities. The program will serve the individualized medical needs of these children while DCFS seeks a long-term placement for them. Children will be between the ages of birth and 21 years old and can be male or female. The property will be staffed 24 hours per day, 7 days per week. There will be a maximum of 15 staff members during the day shift, a maximum of 10 staff members during an evening shift, and a maximum of 8 staff members on the overnight shift. During the daytime, there may be visitors to the property, including parents and or family members of the children, potential foster parents or providers, DCFS caseworkers, and other clinical staff. In applicant's experience, this can result in a maximum of 4 visitors on site at any one time during peak hours. Please note that Maryville operates several other similar programs at various locations in both Chicago and the surrounding suburbs. Maryville has been a provider of social services since the 1880s and has an excellent reputation for serving the most vulnerable children. There are a total of 52 parking spaces on site. Applicant is entitled to use 25 of those. Applicant will also have 2 vans on site so that staff can transport children to any necessary off-site required medical appointments. We have confirmed with the zoning department that this parking meets the zoning code requirements. Both Sister Kathy and Mr. O'Brien and Ms. Kelly have all submitted affidavits along with the findings of fact that we submitted, and Mr. O'Brien has also submitted a report along with his credentials, and you have recognized him as an expert. Please note that applicant has talked with its immediate neighbors about the proposed use, and they don't have any objections. And we've also discussed the matter with Alderman Martin, who has said he has no objections either. So at this point, I think I'd like to ask Sister Kathy to just get her affidavit on the record, please. Sister Kathy?
Yes,
So Sister Kathy, have you submitted an affidavit along with the findings of fact to this board?
I have.
And if you were to testify today, would your testimony be consistent with the testimony in your affidavit?
Yes,
Thank you. And Ms. Kelly,
Yes.
have you submitted an affidavit along with the findings of fact to this board?
Yes.
And if you were to testify today, would your testimony be consistent with your testimony in the affidavit?
Yes, it would.
And Mr. O'Brien, have you
Yes.
submitted an affidavit and a report along with the findings of fact to this board?
I have, yes.
And if you were to testify today, would your testimony be consistent with the testimony in your affidavit and your report?
Most certainly, yes.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Mr. Chairman, I don't have any further questions of my witnesses at this time, but we are happy to answer any questions you or the board members may have.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
This is Commissioner Esposito. Maybe if Sister Kathy could tell us why this location is particularly suitable for their transitional residents. That would be interesting to hear.
I'd be happy to, Commissioner. We actually looked for a site for this shelter for the Department of Children and Family Services for now almost close to 2 years. And we're looking for a facility that's one floor, ground floor, that allows us to make the bedrooms for the children while they're with us. They're medically fragile children, many of them technology dependent. So there has to be enough space for us in the rooms to be able to care for them, have their equipment. And this former daycare center, when we finally found it, seemed perfect for that purpose. So it's not far also from our Children's Healthcare Center, which is a transitional care for medically fragile children. That's near Oak Park and Irving Park. And we wanted to be able to have certain staff be able to go between the two facilities. So because of the layout of the facility, because of the outdoor play area that you see on the diagram, it has a fence around it. And because of its proximity to the program that's most like it already at Maryville, we asked to lease this property and ask for this accommodation.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, we will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is calendar numbers 425-22-Z and 426-22-Z. This is 1237 North California. If you are here in support or objection, please raise your hand and we will get you promoted. Okay. We've got Counselor Friedland. I think we have your witnesses too. Hippolito, could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Hippolito Roldan, I'm the president of Hispanic Housing Development Corporation. I live at 233 East 13th Street in Chicago.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do.
Thank you. Gabriel, could you state your name and address, please?
Sure. Good afternoon. I'm Gabriel Ignacio Jackiewicz, and I reside at 3705 North Trip in Chicago.
And could you spell your last name for the record, please?
Sure. D like David, Z like zebra, I-E-K, I-E-W-I-C-Z.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Steve Porras, could you state your name and address, please? You're muted right now.
My apologies. My name is Stephen M. Porras. I live at 1738 West Beverly Glen Parkway in Chicago, 60645.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, Counselor Friedland, take it away. We can't hear you right now, Counselor. Still cannot hear you.
Mr. Chairman, is that better?
Ah, there we go.
I apologize. Something happened when it promoted me. If you can hear me clearly now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you. So once again, my name is Steve Friedland. I'm an attorney with Applegate and Thorne Thompson, here on behalf of 1237 North California, HHDC LLC, That applicant is 100% owned by Hispanic Housing Development Corporation, which is a Illinois not-for-profit that Paul Roldan runs and is the president of. It is a developer of affordable housing. Really, we only will have two of our witnesses that I need to address today, Paul and Gabriel. What this is a request by Hispanic Housing to build a 40-unit, 100% affordable 6-story building at this location. This is currently a vacant parcel that they own. There will be 21 parking spaces, and there are two variation requests. One is to reduce certain yards. So there's a request to reduce the front setback from 4.65 feet to 3 feet, so bringing the building slightly closer to California. A request to reduce the side setback from 2.67 feet to 0 feet, so we would build to the lot line on the north side, and a request to reduce the rear yard from 30 feet to 0. Now that sounds very dramatic, but as you can see from the drawing in front of you, our building is set back 30 feet from the alley, from the rear property line. Hispanic Housing wants to put in a mechanized parking gate at the alley, and that parking gate happens to be 6 feet 4 inches tall. So it's only allowed to be 6 feet. So it's not allowed in the rear yard, and we're requesting the variation so that they can have that mechanized parking gate along the alley, but there's no structure in the 30-foot rear yard. The second case before you is a request to waive a landscape requirement. This is actually another good drawing for you to see this. Along Crystal Street, if you just go up to the one drawing above that, I think it'd be easier to see what we're requesting. I'm not sure who's running the pictures, but one drawing up. You would see that we are requesting to waive the 7-foot landscape requirement that would be required from the rear of the building to the alley, so that instead we would just put up a masonry screen that will allow us to have 3 parking spaces along that side of Crystal Street. You'd see it a little right there. That drawing there would be easiest for you to see. It's those 3 parking spaces, which are 17, 18, and 19 along the side there. So a key feature of this development is that it's 100% affordable, and it has large family-sized units. The unit mix is quite unique for an affordable development. There's 10 one-bedroom units, 25 2-bedroom units, and 5 3-bedroom units. So, of the 40 units, 30 of them are either 2 or 3-bedroom units, which those of you who have seen affordable projects come before you in the past, that's somewhat unique. And it was really done because Hispanic Housing, Alderman Maldonado, and the City Department of Housing wanted to see family-sized units in this location. So, the complying with that side and front setback, even though they're somewhat minor requests, would have changed the interior of the building enough that we would end up having more 1-bedroom units, and we really wanted to maximize the family-sized units. With respect to the landscaping, we just felt that a 7-foot buffer between the alley and the rear of the building along Crystal Street really didn't accomplish much by way of a landscaping area, and would prefer, especially with family units, to have those 3 parking spaces. With that background, I'd like to examine the 2 witnesses and get them to affirm their affidavits, if I could do that now.
Proceed.
Paul Roldan, when we provided an application to the city and we included an affidavit of yours with our findings of fact, if you were to testify today, would your testimony be substantially in accordance with the facts and statements you made in your affidavit?
Yes, it would.
Thank you. And Gabi, you also filed as the project architect an affidavit stating your opinion and conclusions with respect to the variations we're requesting. If you were to testify today, would your testimony be consistent with that affidavit?
Yes, it would.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, we don't have any further questions.
All right, thank you. Counselor or perhaps the applicant, can someone go into the hardship here as to why the relief needs to be granted? And you know, Counselor, you touched on it a little bit when you talked about the need for more family-sized affordable housing in this area. Maybe you could have Mr. Roldan expand upon that possibly.
Yeah, Paul, I think you can speak to the issues of gentrification a lot better than I could and what's needed, especially considering that you have other projects that you're building close by. Could you do that, please?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So I've been in Chicago, you're hearing Brooklyn for 46 years now, and have been all that time leading Hispanic Housing Development Corporation. Started out in Logan Square in 1976. And of course, you know what's happened in Logan Square. It used to be 65% Latino, including some fairly prosperous and affluent merchants and entrepreneurs. It is now 46% Latino. There's a fair amount of gentrification going on there. Same thing is happening in Avondale, Belmont, Craigen, and certainly in Humboldt Park and the western portion of Westtown as well. So we are fighting against this wave of capital washing over our communities. And one of the victims, there are many demographic victims, certainly the elderly are, but also young families, especially young families that are smaller, one child, maybe two children, very, very difficult time setting roots in the community and staying in one place, becoming part of the community, social and political and economic infrastructure. So, our attempt here is to try to create family housing that's affordable, 2 and 3 bedrooms where people can set roots. We are also involved in a project 2 blocks south of this at 1203 California, the southeast corner of California Division, where we have a similar property of 64 apartments. 72% of those are 2 and 3 bedrooms. So both these projects will provide over 100 units of family-sized housing. So we see it as a sort of tool to maintain young families in the community, make them part of the economic structure and political and social structure of that neighborhood.
Thank you for that. If you had to strictly comply with the zoning ordinance, could you finance this project?
Paul, could I take that? And Mr. Chairman, you may be aware that, and I do a number of these affordable developments, we have provided you with sort of an addendum to that reasonable return issue. I think the way that we look at it is twofold. One, that these affordable projects really don't produce a return in the sense that, they end up with restrictions on them for 30 or 40 years. It's not like a typical developer who's looking to make a return on an investment. There actually, isn't any return on the investment to Paul's organization.
Are there tax credits though?
Correct. So, but to the point that I will speak to, and then I'm sorry for stopping Paul, but I'll let him finish it, is because the city was really looking to see that we would develop larger family units, and because the tax credit program is such a difficult process to get tax credits, it's very competitive. I think that the city gave us tax credits because they wanted to see large family units. So I don't believe Hispanic thinks that if they could have only developed smaller single family homes, the city would have said, well, that's where we're going to put this very limited resource.
Okay, so if you had to comply with the zoning ordinance, then you wouldn't actually you wouldn't get the credits, and then you wouldn't be able to build this.
Correct.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Please do.
So just in follow-up to that, I'm just kind of curious. It has been a minute since I've done a tax credit deal, but is there anything that you guys have that's from the city that kind of outlines that in the agreement in terms of the need for the family size units, or that the credits are predicated on the delivery of those size units?
Well, the proposal that's before you is the proposal that the city will fund, so we couldn't change it. I mean, I suppose the city could let us change it, but we certainly don't expect that to be the case. So, you know, all of our numbers, all of our financing, everything has been predicated on this unit mix. So, you know, that is the project that got approved. I'm not sure if that exactly answers your question, but
in some ways, but we know those change often, so.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Hearing none, we will take this matter under advisement. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is 427-22-Z and 428-22-Z. This is 751 to 57 West 79th Street. If you are here in objection or support, please raise your hand and we will get you promoted. We are sticking with Councilor Friedland. And you've got two witnesses and they are.
Yeah, we should have
here.
David Block, who I see David on here. I'm not sure I see Eric Martin on here.
He's here as well.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, let's start with David. Could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, good afternoon. I'm David Block. I am a manager at Evergreen Redevelopment LLC, which is itself a manager of Evergreen Imagine JV LLC, which is the applicant here.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do.
Thank you.
I should add our address is 566 West Lake Street in Chicago.
Thank you. Eric, could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Eric Martin and my address is, home address is 5415 North Sheridan Road and work address is 10 West Hubbard.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Councilor Friedland, take it away.
Yes, thank you. Once again, my name is Steve Friedland, law firm of Applegate and Thorne Thompson, here on behalf of Evergreen Imagine JV. This is a joint venture between Evergreen Redevelopment LLC, which is a big developer of affordable housing in Chicago, and Imagine Development Group, which is also a real estate developer in the city. The property in question is actually owned by the city of Chicago. This is a site that is part of the city's Invest Southwest program. The applicant, my client, was part of a contest or process that the city ran to achieve this project. They're doing another one just down the street that's part of Invest Southwest. The proposal for this location is to build a 5-story, 30-unit building with ground floor commercial space and a total of 14 parking spaces. There are 2 variation requests before you today. The first is to reduce the rear yard setback from 30 feet to 8 feet. Our rear yard backs up to the public alley, as you can see there, and you can see that a portion of the building along Halsted Street would fall into that 30-foot rear yard. The second variation request is that because 79th Street is a transit-served bus boulevard, we are a transit-served location, and we are requesting a variation from the pedestrian street front setback standards that would have required the building to be built no more than 5 feet from the property line. We propose to build it 8 feet from the property line. Now, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but a key feature of this development is that it is 100% affordable. And the reason for the rear yard variations are to allow for those upper floors to have residential units that fall within the 30-foot rear yard. You know, as a sort of a typical affordable housing project, 30 units is already, you know, sort of skirting with kind of the smallest size project you can do with affordable housing tax credits and make it work. And to reduce that further would have really made the project impossible. So, you know, that's really the impetus for that request. On the pedestrian street side, what we're dealing with is a very narrow sidewalk that exists on 79th Street. And in some of the design review, and I will say that this project went through a design review with the city's Department of Planning and Development. As many of you know, if you use city dollars to build these projects, you do go through a design review process. The desire was to create a more a wider sidewalk. Basically, it's only a portion of the property that's set back the 8 feet, but we're going to be providing landscaping within that area so that the sidewalk and our property will really be seamless. So that additional 3 feet just gives a little more breathing room along 79th Street. With that, let me get to the witnesses and start with David. David, as part of the application, you provided an affidavit regarding the zoning standards for the variation. If you were to testify today before the board, would your testimony be in accordance with the affidavit you submitted?
Yes, it would.
Thank you. And now, Eric, similarly, you provided an affidavit as architect of the project with respect to the variation standards that was submitted as part of our application. If you were to provide that testimony today, would it be consistent with the affidavit that you submitted?
Yes, it would.
Thank you. With that, Mr. Chairman, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? I think we have what we need. We will take it under advisement.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is 429-22-S. This is 6142 West North Avenue. If you are here in support or objection, please raise your hand and we will get you promoted. Okay. We're with Councilor Augustine, and I can see we've got the applicant and Joe Ryan. So Jake, could you state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Jake Adam Rule. My address is 5562, or the application address is 6142 West North Avenue.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And Joe Ryan has already been sworn in and his expertise has been recognized.
Thank you, Chairman.
So, Councilor Augustine, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. Just real quick, I don't know if I see any objectors or any on this.
If you are here in support or objection, please raise your hand and we will get you promoted. At this time, I'm not seeing any objectors.
Okay, so I will try to make this brief. Again, Chairman, Fred Augustin. For the record, I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Chairs Blade Masters LLC. Applicant owns the property at 6142 West North Avenue. Building is a mixed-use building. It contains 2 commercial storefronts. The applicant would like to establish a barber shop in one of the storefronts. The property is zoned B11. Under the B1 district, a barber shop requires a special use if it's located within 1,000 feet of another personal service use. Based on our findings, there is only one personal service use within 1,000 feet of the property. Nonetheless, since there is one, the applicant is seeking a special use to locate and establish a barber shop, which is reason we're here before the board this afternoon. Here with me this afternoon is, on behalf of the applicant, Jake Rule, and our appraiser, Joel Ryan. First witness, Mr. Rule. So, Mr. Rule, please state your name and address for the record. Jake, you got to unmute. You have to unmute.
My name is Jake Adam Rule. The address is 6142 West North Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, 60639.
Thank you. You are the manager of the applicant, Jair's Blade Masters LLC, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
The applicant owns the property at 6142 West North Avenue, is that right?
Yes. Yes.
And the property is improved with an existing mixed-use building with 2 commercial storefronts, is that right?
Yes.
And you plan to own and operate your own barbershop in one of these storefronts, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Your hours of operation for your barbershop will be Tuesdays through Thursdays, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., Fridays, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturdays, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., closed Sundays and Mondays, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You executed an affidavit, which I submitted to the board on your behalf, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And if we continued, your testimony would be consistent with your affidavit, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Call Mr. Ryan.
You know, before you call Mr. Ryan, I forgot to read the recommendation of the department. So let me go ahead and do that, and then you can go to Mr. Ryan.
Sure.
This is the recommendation for calendar number 429-22-S. The Department of Planning and Development recommends approval of the proposed barbershop.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Mr. Ryan, please state your name and address for the record.
Joseph M. Ryan, MAI, President, LaSalle Appraisal Group, with offices at 9455 South Point Avenue in Chicago.
And you have reviewed the subject property as well as the surrounding area as it relates to the proposed special use, is that correct?
Yes.
And in your opinion, the proposed barber shop complies with all the standards for a special use, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
You prepared a written report with your findings, is that right?
Yes.
And in addition, you executed an affidavit, which I submitted to the board on your behalf, is that correct?
Yes.
And if we continued, your testimony would be consistent with that affidavit, is that right?
It would be, yes.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I have no further questions of our witnesses. We're here to answer any questions the board may have.
Yeah, I have one question for Mr. Rule. Have you had conversations with the alderman about this special use? And if so, how did it go?
Yes, I had several conversations with him about the special use. It went a couple of different ways, a couple of different times, but I think that we came to some common ground, and he seen exactly what the vision was for the neighborhood and the property.
Okay, and when was the last time that you spoke with the alderman?
I spoke with them maybe 2 weeks after we came to court the first time. He said what he said as far as he felt like it was too many personal services on North Avenue. So he did take his stance with the way that he felt about it. He did make me fully aware of where he stood at it. And I just had a little dialogue with him that it's not just average for me. I have over $1 million invested into this place. And I'm not just looking to bring any type of personal service to the neighborhood. I'm vested here. I own other properties in the 29th Ward. And we just had dialogue about it, and he gave me his stance and I gave him mine. And we left it there. And we're here now.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
This is Commissioner Esposito. Just to clarify, is Mr. Rural, are you the owner or the manager? What exactly is your role? I'm some sort of confused.
I actually own the property, the building, the entire building. That I'm looking on one side of it. I'm looking to operate my barbershop and the storefronts.
So you are the applicant and the owner and the manager of the barbershop.
Yes, sir.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, we will take this one under advisement.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful Thanksgiving.
You as well.
Thanks, guys.
Teraz jest nasza kolej, także nasza już kolej.
Hello. Okay, next up is calendar number 430-22-Z. This is 2015 West Addison. If you are here in objection or support, please raise your hand and we will get you promoted. Okay, we've got Counselor Kupiec. Gary, could you state your name and address, please?
Gary Les, 2033 Milwaukee Avenue, Riverwoods, Illinois.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
Yes.
Thank you. Iwa, could you state your name and address, please? You're muted right now.
Hello?
There we go. We can hear you.
Okay. Ewa Romanowska, 2360 High Point Drive, Lindenhurst, Illinois, 60046.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Kupiec, I'm not seeing any objectors. You can proceed with the short form.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Mark Kupiec. I'm an attorney with offices at 77 West Washington, represent the applicant. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for locating my witnesses because they're both calling in today. So thankfully that went smoothly. So I appreciate that. And again, the witnesses were Gary Les on behalf of the applicant and Eva Romanovska, our architectural witness. This particular case, it's an application for a variation, and it's for a proposed second story addition to an old frame single family residence at 2015 West Addison. And the particular property is zone RT 3.5. It's on a lot, actually a little bit of a narrow lot at 24 feet wide on Addison Street, which is an arterial street, bus route, etc. And improved with an old, the assessor says 117-year-old frame single family residence. Our unique feature is that the old building doesn't comply with current setback requirements. So when we build a second floor addition and follow the wall, the exterior wall of the first floor directly beneath it, the second floor addition will also not comply with current setback requirements. But the existing building has a front setback of 9.7, and that will remain if approved. The existing building has a west side setback of 0.1, and that will remain. Combined side setbacks will remain the same. And a point of interest with these old buildings on Addison, actually, the side setback is consistent with the historic development pattern of buildings on that block. For whatever reason, the buildings seem to be built right on the lot line on the west side with a larger setback on the east side. So that development pattern will in fact remain. And again, the unique feature is with the upper floor addition, the walls of the second floor addition will follow the exterior walls of the first floor beneath it. So that's our overview. And with that, I'll call Gary first. Gary Less. Gary, you there?
Yes,
Again, please state your name and your address.
Gary Less, 2033 Milwaukee Avenue, Riverwoods, Illinois.
And Gary, are you the manager of the applicant?
Yes,
The applicant, besides the application for the variation, also the owner of the subject property at 2015?
correct.
Good. And Gary, did I prepare and did you sign an affidavit in connection with this case?
I did.
And if I were to continue questioning you, would your answers to my questions be consistent with the facts stated in that affidavit?
They would.
And that's all I would have of Gary, unless there were questions. Next, I
Go ahead. We'll if there's any questions, we'll do it at the end.
Good. Eva, are you there?
Yes,
Good. Eva, state your name and your address again for the record.
Ewa Romanowska, 2360 High Point Drive, Lindenhurst, Illinois, 60046.
And Eva, is it correct that you work with architect Henry Parachi?
Yes,
And Eva, were you the one involved with the design of the plans for this project?
yes,
And did I prepare an affidavit for you in connection with this case that you signed?
yes,
And then we submitted that affidavit on your behalf. And if I would continue to question you, would your answers to my questions be the same as what's contained in the affidavit?
yes.
Again, that's all I have. Eva, we rest on that affidavit and certainly open to questions.
Any questions from the board?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I omitted one item.
Sure, go ahead.
We did do an outreach to the neighbors. I'd be mistaken if I didn't mention this, and talked to the two next door neighbors directly. We sent them each an electronic copy of the plans. I talked to them separately, answered their questions, especially how these variations are written up. So we talked to both of those individually, and Gary and myself have both been in touch with Josh from the Alderman's office, and we have kept them advised with our progress on the project and our progress talking to the neighbors. So we did do our community outreach.
And there was no no objection in talking to the neighbors?
No.
Great. Any questions from the board? All right, we will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, fellas and ladies.
Okay,
Thank
next,
you.
thank you. Next up is 431-22-S. This is 1901 to 21 West Lake Street.
Good afternoon, Chairman. I believe we should have everybody on, all of our witnesses.
Okay, let me just check here. I can see we've got Pam. Could you state your name and address, please?
Pam Hutter, Hutter Architects, 401 North Michigan, Suite 1200, Chicago, Illinois.
And do you-
60611.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do.
Thank you. Brian Lofton, could you state your name and address, please? You're muted right now.
I knew I would do it. Thanks, Brian. It's Brian Lofton, 2000 Ela Road, Schaumburg, Illinois, 60195.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do.
Thank you. And Susan, could you state your name and address, please?
Sure. Susan Enright, MAI, 4545 Woodland Avenue, Western Springs, Illinois, 60558.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do.
Thank you. If there are any supporters or objectors for this matter, please raise your hand and we will get you promoted. I'm going to read the Department of Planning and Development's recommendation. This is the recommendation for calendar number 431-22-S. The Department of Planning and Development recommends approval of the Sports and Recreation Participant Children's Activity Facility, provided the special use is issued solely to the applicant, Little Kickers, Illinois, LLC, and the development is consistent with the design and layout of the proposed site plan and proposed landscape plan dated November 11, 2022, and first floor plan and elevations dated December 1, 2015, all prepared by Hutter Architects Ltd. Okay, and with that, I'm not seeing any objectors. So Councilor Stengel, you may proceed with the short form.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Janet Stengel. I am an attorney of Daspin and Allman LLP, and our offices are at 300 South Wacker Drive in Chicago. I am here today on behalf of the applicant, Little Kickers, Illinois, LLC, which is seeking approval of a special use permit to operate a sports and recreation participant children's activity facility at the property located at 1901 to 1921 West Lake Street. The property owner is 1901 West Lake Street LLC, and the applicant is leasing the property from the property owner. The property is located in an M11 limited manufacturing district. Little Kickers is a national youth soccer program that operates franchise locations across the country, and Little Kickers offers soccer classes for kids. This Little Kickers location has actually been in operation since 2015, although when it was first opened, this location was not operated by the applicant. It was operated by a different entity. This former operator applied for and received approval for a special use permit, which was granted in 2015. The former operator then became bankrupt. The applicant was asked to take over operations at this location due to its success in operating multiple other Little Kickers franchise locations. There have been no changes in operation since the property was opened in 2015. The only change is that the property has become out of compliance with the landscape ordinance and out of compliance with the landscape plan originally approved by the board in 2015. The issue with the former special use permit is that it was contingent that the former operator continued to be the operator for this Little Kickers location. Little Kickers Illinois LLC must obtain a special use permit for this Little Kickers location in order to continue operating at the property. The applicant has submitted a proposed site plan and a proposed landscape plan to bring the property into compliance with the landscape ordinance. Mr. Chairman, we have 3 witnesses here with us today. First is Mr. Brian Lofton, who is the manager of Little Kickers Illinois LLC. Ms. Sue Enright, who is an appraiser with Appraiser Associates, who prepared the consulting report and zoning analysis for this application. And then Ms. Pam Hutter, who is a licensed architect in the state of Illinois with Hutter Architects, who prepared the proposed site plan and the proposed landscape plan. We will go through the affidavits. Brian, we will start with you. Brian Lofton, you are the manager of Little Kickers Illinois LLC, correct?
Correct.
You prepared and submitted an affidavit that has been introduced into the record. If you were to continue your testimony today, would your testimony be consistent with the facts in that affidavit?
Yes, it would.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Sue Enright. Sue, you are an appraiser with Appraisal Associates, correct?
Correct.
And you prepared the consulting report and zoning analysis for this application, correct?
Yes, I did. Correct.
Thank you. You submitted an affidavit that has been introduced into the record. If you were to continue your testimony today, would your testimony be consistent with your statements in that affidavit?
Yes, it would.
Thank you. And now Pam. Pam, you are a licensed architect in Illinois with Hutter Architects, correct?
Correct.
And you prepared the proposed site plan and proposed landscape plan and reviewed the floor plan and elevations which were previously approved in 2015. Is this correct?
This is correct.
Thank you. You also determined that the floor plan and elevations remain consistent with the plans in 2015 and that the proposed site plan and landscape plan will bring the property into compliance with the landscape ordinance. Is this correct?
This is correct.
You submitted an affidavit that has been introduced into the record. If you were to continue your testimony today, would your testimony be consistent with the facts in that affidavit?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, the applicant would like to inform the board that the project is located in the 27th ward, and we did contact Alderman Burnett about this application, and he determined that a community process was not necessary. We have submitted into the record a letter of support from the alderman. Thank you, and we are happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you very much. And just for the record, the board has reviewed Ms. Enright's resume, and we do recognize her expertise. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Toya. I do have a question. Counselor, you did say you reached out to the alderman, which I'm glad you did, and but the alderman doesn't make a decision on this board. We do. So with that said, I always like to hear what the neighborhood group and or the business group like to say. Like I said, I always love to hear what the aldermen have to say. But it doesn't seem like you reached out to the business group and or the neighborhood group. I've been consistent on this for years now. So obviously you've never, I don't know if you ever listened to us, but I will always ask that question because I do want to hear from the business group, the neighborhood group, and the alderman. You did the alderman, great. But could you talk to me a little bit more about that? Because I really do want to know what they think.
Sure. This location has been in operation since 2015. It is a vibrant member of this area. It has been full with classes since 2015, and it has been a standard member of the community since then. The reason for this special use application is not to introduce this use to the neighborhood. It's to continue this use that has been a source for local family members to send their children for soccer practices. And this enables the neighborhood, which has been changing from manufacturing into, having more of a neighborhood atmosphere, and that encourages that use here. There has been no material changes to the operations or anything in the day-to-day activities of Little Kickers. The only change which we are bringing this afternoon is the changes in the landscape plan to bring it into compliance with the ordinance.
Again, you did reach out to the alderman. So go deeper with me. Why did you reach out to the alderman and not the business groups and the neighborhood groups? Again, the alderman's not on this board. So go there for me, because you're going down this rabbit hole. I'm going to keep going down it.
Yes, the alderman's office, we have gone to their support to evaluate this establishment in the community, and that was a suggestion from the alderman that we continue with this application. And we went to that office to see what the neighborhood and how Little Kickers had adapted to this neighborhood since 2015.
again, I appreciate that, but in the future, if you're gonna bring up the alderman, I want to hear what the business groups and the neighborhood groups have to say. You know what I mean? You're the one that
Yes.
brought up the alderman. And I'm very consistent on this. I've been on this board for quite a long time, and I'm very consistent. You can ask some of your colleagues and they'll tell you, Commissioner Toya is gonna go there once you bring up the alderman. You know what I mean? So because I do believe, and I know this administration believes too, they want to hear, yes, they want to hear from the alderman, but they also want to hear from the community, the people that live there. So again, the alderman represents them, but the business community group has a different constituents and the neighborhood community has a different constituent. So I always want to hear from everyone. And I know that's what this administration wants to hear as well.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you both. Are there any other questions from the board? All right. I think we have what we need. We will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is calendar numbers 433-22-Z and 434-22-Z. This is 6706 South Emerald. If you are here in objection or support, please raise your hand and we will get you promoted.
Chairman, just need a few minutes as everyone is using pseudo names, not their real names. Second.
And as we promote you, make sure you accept the promotion. Okay, Counselor Shaw, could you, how many witnesses do you have?
We have 5 witnesses.
Okay. Do we have Nishone Greer?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
excellent, excellent. Okay, all right, that's, all right, I couldn't see your name there. Could you state your name and address, please?
Oh, I am Nishan Greer Adams at 6706 South Emerald Avenue.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have Maria Pellat?
Yes, I'm here.
And could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Maria Pellot, P-E-L-L-O-T, and our office is located at 125 South Clark, Suite 2070, Chicago, Illinois, 60603.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceeding?
I do.
Thank you. Renee Hayden?
Yes, how you doing today? Would like to thank you for allowing me to speak.
Good afternoon. Could you state your name and address, please?
Renee Hayden at 6706 South Emerald that I'm representing.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Justin Morgan, could you state your name and address, please?
Justin Morgan, 6706 South Emerald.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
Yes, sure. Yes, I will.
Thank you. Tina Lynn.
Hi, how are you?
Hi,
Tina
how are you?
Lynn.
Can you state your name and address, please?
Tina Lynn, 6803 South Ridgeland.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. And now let me just see here. I think we've got more people here. So let me find out if we've got supporters or objectors. Buyers, I see buyers -433. Are you here in support or objection?
I'm here for support.
Okay, I can tell that you might be on two different devices because we're getting feedback when you unmute and speak. So if you could make sure that you're on just the one device so we don't get the feedback. Let's see here. Do we, how about Earl Thurmond? Are you here in support or objection? You're muted right now.
How you doing? My name Earl Thurman. I'm here for support.
Excellent. How about Ebony? Are you here in support or objection? You're muted right now.
I'm here for support.
Excellent, thank you. Sherry Baines, are you here in support or objection? You're muted right now, Sherry. Sherry, you are still muted.
Chairman, there are also two people under attendees who were not accepting promotion, and so I've allowed them to talk as attendee.
Okay. All right. Well, Sherry's not unmuting right now, but we'll come back. Shamika, could you unmute and tell us here if you're in support or objection?
Hi, I'm here for support.
Okay. And Christina, are you here in support or objection?
I'm here for support.
Thank you. Let's see here. Christina, you may be on two devices as well because we're getting some feedback when you're not muted. So you want to make sure you're only on one device, otherwise it's gonna cause interference. Brian Adams, could you unmute and let us know if you're here in support or objection?
Yes, I'm here in support.
Okay. Let's see here. There was someone. Sherry, is Sherry able to unmute or no? Sherry Baines. Okay, she's not unmuting. Is there anybody other than Sherry that I haven't called?
I'm here for support, Sherry Baines.
Oh, excellent. Okay, thank you. All right, is
No worries, thank you.
Is anybody else here that I haven't called on? If you are, please unmute and let us know. All right, you know what? I'm gonna get all the supporters sworn in too right now, and then I will hand it over to Councilor Shaw. Sherry, let's start with you. Could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, Sherry Baines, 6706 South Emerald.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do.
Thank you. Shamika, could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, Shamika Turner, 6706 South Emerald.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
Yes.
Thank you. Christina, could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, thank you. I'm Christina Njoloma, 6706 South Emerald.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
Yes,
Thank you.
you are welcome.
Miss Byers, could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, I can. 6706 South Emerald Avenue. And for, I'm sorry, Elizabeth is the first name, Byers is the last.
Thank you. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
Yes.
Thank you. Let's see here. Who else do we got? Earl Thurmond, could you state your name and address, please?
My name Earl Thurman, 6706 South Emerald. And I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And Ebony, could you state your name and address, please? You're muted right now.
All
There we
right.
go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Ebony Patterson, 6706 South Emerald Avenue, and I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
All right, let me ask it. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anybody that I have not sworn in who intends to speak? Okay, I think I have everybody. If not, let me know. But with that, Councilor Shaw, you have no objectors. You have a ton of supporters. Please proceed.
Okay. Chairman, board, thank you for having us this afternoon. I'm here on behalf of Little Angels Family Daycare. I'm from Shaw Legal Services. Our offices are located in Lakeview at 540 West Briar, Suite B. Today, we are looking at a parking and setback variation to the address commonly known as 6706 South Emerald. As we can see on the screen there, the property is located in Inglewood. The property has been vacant for over 20 years at this point. And as the board and chairman can see, the area is relatively blighted. And there has been a recent push to reinvigorate the Inglewood neighborhood, and that is what this project seeks to do. The proposed development will be a two-story early learning center and community center. It will have 10 classrooms, an outdoor green space, will serve at least 112 students, 16 faculty, parents, alumni, and community members. So this is more than just an early learning center. It is actually a safe haven and space for the community, which is in great need for such services. And Chairman, if I may, since will this be a short format?
You can proceed with the short form.
Okay. All right. So I would like to affirm the affidavits of our listed witnesses, Michonne Greer and Maria Peyote. Ms. Greer?
Yes.
Please state your name and business address for the record.
Yes, Nishan Greer Adams, 6706 South Emerald Avenue.
Are you the president of Little Angels? I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Proud president. Yes, ma'am.
Little Angels Family Daycare No. 2 Incorporated.
Yes, ma'am. That would be I.
And you've owned this the corporation since 1994. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, and you represent Little Angels Family Daycare No. 2 as the applicant for the parking reduction and the setback variation applications. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
And do you recall submitting a affidavit in support of both applications?
I did, yes.
Okay. And if you were to testify today, would the information that you provide to the board be consistent with the affidavit we submitted on your behalf?
Yes, it will. Very consistent. Yes.
All right. Chairman, may I move on to Ms. Payotte?
Yes, please.
All right, Ms. Payotte?
Hello.
Ms. Payotte, can you tell us your name, occupation, and business address?
Sure. My name is Maria Pejot. I am a registered architect in Illinois and a certified planner with the American Planning Association. Our business address is 125 South Clark, Suite 2070, Chicago, 60603.
And are you a principal at Urban Works?
Yes, I am principal and design director.
Okay. And are you familiar with the project on South Emerald Avenue?
Yes, I am.
And were you involved in creating the plans and designs for the Emerald Avenue project?
Yes, as the principal in charge of the project, I oversee the project for the duration of its development. I oversee the project manager, the project architect, and the consultants. And I work directly with Patricia Saldana-Natke, who is the founding principal at Urban Works and is the signing architect on the project.
And do you recall submitting an affidavit in support of two applications, one for a parking reduction and one for a setback reduction for this project?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And if you were to provide testimony today regarding, would your testimony be consistent with the affidavit submitted?
Yes, it will.
Okay. Chairman, these are the two affidavits that have been submitted. We do have three other witnesses that are here for support. Would you like me to present their testimony, or we're also open to any questions?
Well, if they've come here to express support, let's listen to them.
Okay. Miss Tina Lynn?
Hi, how are you guys?
Hello, Miss Lynn. I understand that you submitted, I believe you submitted a letter of support. Is that right, Miss Lynn?
Yes, I did.
All right. And you would like to discuss how Little Angels has positively impacted your family. Is that right?
I would.
Okay. And could you provide the board with just a brief summary of your support for this project?
Yes, I would. First and foremost, I would like to thank the council for taking time to hear me out. Thank you, guys. So I'm just going to start off by saying that my name is Tina Lynn, and I've been a parent of Little Angels Learning Center since 2012. Little Angels has always and will be very important to my family because of the quality education and the love that the staff not only pours into my children, but they also pour into me as a parent. I was a young parent and I've grown over the years with the help of Little Angels. They helped me to learn patience, and they also helped me to learn what being accountable means and to practice peace through pressure during these many troubled times that I've had in my life. Little Angels even helped me send my mother and my daughter, who I had, that was she was diagnosed with pulmonary hypertension when I had her. So she passed away 17 days later after I had her. Little Angels not only helped me with that, they broke down all the classrooms in the current school right now inside of the church, broke down all the classrooms to help me have a repast for my mother and actually services to cremate my little daughter. So Little Angels is always and will be very important to my life. And it just means like it brings great joy, and it's a wonderful feeling to know that we'll have just a bigger support inside of the school. So my main thing is for the family support specialist and the mental health specialist that we in dire need for. So that's all. And I would like to thank you guys for hearing me today.
Okay, thank you, Miss Lynn. I appreciate that. Mr. Morgan?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Justin Morgan. I am the Director of Operations for Something Good in Inglewood. I have been a supporter of Little Angels. We've been working in tandem for about 4 years. Little Angels, much like Something Good in Inglewood, are a safe haven for the Inglewood community. There's no no secret how deprived Inglewood is as a whole, from resources to education to basic life necessities. And Something Good in Inglewood exists to circumvent those resources. And we work directly with Little Angels, who is a high-performing early learning safe haven. And a lot of the children, I'll let Ms. Hayden and Ms. Adams speak directly to the great work that they do, but the work that they do is just massively impactful positively. And we take a lot of those families, the baton is passed to us to provide more rapid Inglewood. So Little Angels and this facility is as a whole. Currently, our organization is homeless, so we will be housed in theirs, God willing. And I'm just excited for this new amazing addition to Inglewood. And this will be a massive blessing. And kudos to the entire Little Angels team for all the work that they do. And thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hayden?
Good afternoon. I would like to thank the council also for allowing us to speak as a team as a whole. Hello, my name is Renee Hayden. I'm a teacher / administrator here at Little Angels Learning Center for more than 17 years. And oh, what a difference this new infrastructure will bring to the city of Inglewood. This expansion of our program will not only enhance our quality of excellence, this facility will provide space for children, for more children and families. This space will support more intimate climates for learning, individual assessments, individual teaching, individual testing, and collaborations and programming. This new educational expansion narrows social inequalities, which will have a great impact for more positive future outcomes, such as better educated citizens, healthier populations, as educated individuals make more informed health choices, live longer, and have healthier children, which in turn will brighten this community of Inglewood's vision. And thank you for allowing me to speak. And we need this school. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hayden. Chairman, I would like to, I'm sorry, I actually didn't speak about the hardship itself. Would you like me to go into that?
That was going to be one of the questions that I had. If you could go into the hardship for both reducing the parking and the rear setback.
Yes, I apologize for that. I think I jumped the gun on that one.
Oh, it's okay.
So with respect to the setback, and we're actually looking at the plans right now. On the southern elevation, let me see here. Is this the aerial view? Oh, I'm so sorry. May I have the aerial view? Jeanette? Well, either way, I'll just continue. So on the southern,
She may have stepped away for a
oh,
second.
that's okay. On the southern portion of the property, a setback is required from 43.5 feet to 22 feet. The reason being is the school intends to serve 112 students and 16 staff. And in order to do that, every square foot must be utilized to comply with DCFS requirements. So you must have a certain amount of square footage in order to serve so many students and faculty. And this is the maximized use. My understanding from the community, as well as from Mrs. Greer, is that there is a serious need for increased services. And this is the most that Mrs. Greer can provide with these three plots of land that are combined into one plot. The unusual situation here is the flag shape. So that combined with the number of students to serve, there is just no more room available, and the setback reduction to 22 feet is needed. Otherwise, this project will not happen. Now, with respect to the parking, again, in the southern portion, the code does require parking spaces for 16 faculty at 5 spaces. We are seeking a reduction to 4 spaces, and again, it's for the same reason. There's just not enough space to build more, because DCFS requires a minimum amount of outdoor space and indoor space. If we were to build another park or plan another parking space here, we would not be within the DCFS requirements. So again, we're asking the board for relief to reduce the 5 spaces to 4. That being said, this is just for faculty. Students will have 5 offload spaces in the front. Most students do come from the neighborhood, so they will not be driving in. They'll actually be walking to school. And in that respect, it will not have a negative impact for the students in that regard. Now, in terms of the community, you've heard from the supporters. We actually have more supporters than I anticipated, but we have submitted letters of support from the community. We have support from the Alpha Temple Baptist Church. We have support from the Sergeant of Police.
7th District.
7th District, from Shepherd's Hope.
Our food depository, a repurposed CPS building.
And of course, the alderman as well. And then we also have from the Inglewood First Responders. So we do have ample community support for this project. And with that, I will leave this open to the board for any questions.
Okay, any questions from the board? You know, there's someone is raising their hand. I'm going to promote Casimir Quinn.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Hi,
Are you
good
here
morning.
in support?
No, I am opposed.
Oh, you're here in opposition. Okay.
Yes, I live in the community. I saw the notice, but I realized it was connected to Green Rose. There has just been a lot of bad
Here,
press.
before you start,
Oh, sure.
can you state your name and address, please?
Yes. Casimir Quinn, 1333 South Wabash.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, before we get to you, there are a bunch of other supporters that we've heard from some of them. If anybody else in support wants to speak, now would be the time. So I'll allow you, or if you just want to say, you know, I'm just here to support, you know, and the others have said it as best as I could, then you can say that as well. So if anybody wants to unmute here, who's a supporter, I'll call somebody out. Christina, if you could unmute for a second.
I would like to say something.
We will get to you as well. Christina, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Did you want to, I know you're here in support. Did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I'm here to support, but being with the Little Angels for really so long, now is 6 years, 5 to 6 years. I really support them so much because of what they do here at Little Angels. They do a lot of things to help people, but not only children, but also the families. So I'm really in support of that. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Earl,
Yes.
you wanted to speak?
Yes, yeah, my name Earl Thurman. I just wanted to speak on behalf of Little Angels and Something Good in Inglewood. I was just a person who battled mental health a lot, and they took me in, and they made me feel like family, and they work with me step by step, and I see the process that they make, and I feel it'll be a huge thing for the community as far as a lot of young kids in our neighborhood suffer from mental health, and the programs that they got set up for it, I feel it'll just be immaculate. Like, I just wanted to just speak on the little step, like the patience that they have. And I learned that from them having it with me, and I'm a grown man, and the way I see them work with the children, I just feel like this a must have. Like it's a must have. Like,
Well, thank you very much. Any other supporters? If you wish to speak, you can unmute or raise your hand, and I'll call on you. You've been recognized as supporters already. Okay, not seeing any hands, so we will go to the objector, Casmer Quinn.
Yes.
You've been sworn in, and now feel free to state your objection.
Thank you. I am opposed to the dispensary. I live in the community.
Hold up. I'm sorry. This is not a dispensary.
Right. We're talking about a learning facility.
Yeah.
I am so sorry.
Yes,
I think she's
ma'am.
early for the one
I
on
thought that
1253
because you
South
were saying
Wabash.
you were from 1331 South Wabash. I'm like, that's really far from here. So
So sorry.
makes sense.
Who would be
I was
opposed
like,
to a community
that was going to be one of my questions. Like, you're quite a bit away from
Yes.
6706
I'm so
South
sorry.
Emerald. So,
You're a
all
little
right.
early. We haven't gotten to that
I
one yet.
fully support the community center. I will stay quiet until the dispensary is up. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right.
Thank you so much.
Casimir.
Thank
Thank God
you.
I can put my long outline away.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions from the board? All right. Hearing none. It sounds like a great center. We will take the matter under advisement.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for hearing us today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great Thanksgiving as well.
Happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Yes. Yes.
All right, next up is calendar number 435-22-Z. This is 626 East 40th Street. If you are here in objection or support, please raise your hand and you will get promoted. Okay, and I am going to be recusing on this matter, so I am going to hand this over to Commissioner Toya to preside over this matter. Again, this is 435-22-Z. I will be recusing and will not participate.
Thank you, Chairman. Do we have the supporters or if there's any objectors, have they been promoted yet? Just so I know, because I don't have controls on that.
So there are no hands raised.
Okay. All right, so let's get everyone sworn in. Counselor, could you introduce who's here so we can swear them in and get on with the case? I think you're on mute.
Hi, this is Carol Stubblefield with Neil and Leroy. I just got into the feed, so.
All right, very good. You want to introduce who's going to be your testifying on your behalf so we can get them sworn in?
Oh, absolutely. Right. So Carol
And we
Stubblefield.
can do the short form because there's no objectors.
Oh, okay.
And just go deep on the hardship. When I chair, I always like to go deep on the hardship. So let's just go deep on the hardship too. Thanks.
Okay. So good afternoon. Carol Stubblefield with Neil and Leroy office is located at 20 South Clark here on behalf of the applicant Enchanted Rock. With me today to offer testimony and answer any questions is Cliff Manis with Enchanted Rock, Richard Burnett from ComEd, Stephen Cranenberg, civil engineer with V3, and David Jones, professional engineer and acoustical sound expert with SLR.
Great. Let's start with Cliff. Cliff, could I get your full name and your address, and then we'll get you sworn in.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Clifford Manus here with Enchanted Rock, officing at 1113 Vine Street here in Houston, Texas, 77002. Project
Great. Do you swear to tell the truth during these procedures?
I do.
Thank you, Cliff. Could we go to Richard? Richard, could I get your full name and address?
Sorry about that. I was on mute. Yeah, Richard Burnett, Assistant General Counsel for Commonwealth Edison, 10 South Dearborn, Suite 5200, Chicago, 60603.
And you swear to tell the truth during these procedures?
I do.
Very good. Can we go to Steve?
Hi, my name is Stephen Cranenborg. I'm with V3 Companies, address at 7325 Janes Avenue, Woodridge, Illinois.
And do you swear to tell the truth during these procedures?
I do.
Thank you. And last, David.
Hi, this is David Jones. I'm with SLR Consulting, 6001 Savoy Drive, Houston, Texas.
And you swear to tell the truth during these procedures?
I do.
Thank you, David. All right, Counselor, take it away.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, Enchanted Rock, in partnership with ComEd, is seeking approval to reduce the setbacks for the installation of certain electrical equipment and a perimeter wall for emergency backup power in the Bronzeville microgrid. These setback variations arise from the reuse of a small, irregularly shaped parcel that was previously used for decades as an electrical substation site for ComEd, and includes existing gas and electric line infrastructure. The site is located in the Grand Boulevard community and is zoned RT4. Enchanted Rock obtained a zoning determination letter from the Department of Zoning stating that the proposed use is a permitted use in the RT4 district. And Enchanted Rock also obtained a determination letter from the Department of Public Health stating that the facility is exempt from the Chicago noise ordinance limitations and sound mitigation measure requirements. Enchanted Rock has presented this project at numerous community meetings held by Alderman King, and at the Bronzeville Community Advisory Committee and at the Grand Boulevard Community Council meeting. Enchanted Rock and ComEd have also reached out to their adjacent neighbors, and they have received no objections. So unless the board has questions at this time, we can proceed with our witnesses.
Just a little deeper on the hardship. What's the hardship?
So this site is, like I was saying, is an irregular site. It is small. It's triangular in shape. It has a 15-foot tall railroad embankment along the rear property line. Okay, and so this is a 9,773 square foot site, triangular in shape. And so this is very unusual for utility services. Okay, and so these site limitations and features are very constraining for the proposed project. And the complicating factor for this use is that this use is to support the Bronzeville microgrid facility that was approved by the Illinois Commerce Commission. And one of those factors for supporting the Bronzeville microgrid facility is to have backup power generation. And it needs to be within close proximity to the Bronzeville microgrid facility. And it also, utilizing this site, checks some of the boxes for the Illinois Commerce Commission to seek out sites that are most cost efficient, right? And so by utilizing a site that has existing infrastructure, with the gas and electric lines, it fits that criteria. So the site was selected even though it has these unique features, and it's a complicating hardship for the project to actually fit the equipment and the safety perimeter wall on the site. It was rendered useless. If we had to comply with the zoning code for these setbacks, you couldn't get it done. And it's important. This is a very important initiative for the city of Chicago to have this backup generation facility for the microgrid.
Thank you, Counselor. Do any of my colleagues have any questions? All right, we'll take this under consideration. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you so much. Have a great holiday, everyone.
You too.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Back to you, Chairman.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Toya. Okay, next up is calendar number 436-22-Z and 437-22-Z. This is 2949 North Lotus. If you are here,
Sorry, this is Tex. What was the case number again? Sorry.
436-22-Z and 437-22-Z.
On my sheet, it says continued, but okay.
Oh, did we, you know what? Maybe I marked the wrong one. Let's see here. Let's promote people.
I thought we continued the next one.
Yeah, that's what I have on mine. But we will get Counselor Toth on and he will let us know.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. This is Richard Toth. This matter is not continued. There might be some confusion. I actually had the next matter on the agenda.
Yeah, that's what we had
That's
as
what I
well.
had as well.
Okay, correct. So, all right, so we are going to hear 436-22-Z and 437-22-Z. If this is 2949 North Lotus, if you are here in objection or support, please raise your hand and we will get you promoted.
I've got two witnesses. I hope Mr. Maldonado. And I can't see from my screen whether he's here or promoted. He should be here.
Hello.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir.
There we go.
And then
And I do see the alderman has been on all day. Is he going to testify on this? This is his ward, so.
he's going to do whatever. We encourage him to do whatever he wants. But I'm not, I won't speak for him, of course.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think a 31st ward. I thought it was Ariel. He's 30. I'm sorry. My mistake.
Yeah, we're 31 on this one.
That's right. That's right.
Without trying to speak over anyone, I had an architect. The name we originally submitted was a gentleman, Edward Livenow, who had an emergency and could not appear, but one of his other architects in his office, Oena Hergelegiu, is online, I think, and I'm not sure if you can find her.
We have someone who has the name Architect. Maybe that is your witness.
You could be using both names or just her, or sorry for
Hello,
the.
everyone. Yes, this
Wonderful.
is Juana Hergelegiu. I'm representing Blue Lines Architecture.
Great. Could you state and spell your name for the record, please, and then provide your address?
My name is Juana Hergelegiu. It's OANAHERGHELEGIU. And my address is 20 North Clark Street, Suite 3300, Chicago, Illinois 60602.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do.
Thank you. And Mr. Maldonado, could you state your name and address, please?
Ider Maldonado, 2949 North Lotus.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. and we do not have any objectors on this one. So Counselor Toth, you can proceed with the short form.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon to you and to all members of the board. My name again is Richard Toth. I'm an attorney at Georges and Sinowicki with offices at 20 South Clark Street in Chicago. As you know, I'm appearing before the applicant, Either Maldonado, who's the property owner, on applications 436 and 437 for 2949 North Lotus. And with your permission, we'll present those in a combined manner. Our property is a single family home. Mr. Maldonado and his wife bought the home just over a year ago in September 2021. The couple live in the home with their 4 children. They do plan to continue living in the home. The home was, according to the assessor, is about 96 years old. So perhaps not surprisingly, it was originally built with a slightly reduced south side setback and slightly reduced combined setback, side setback. That reduction on the south side in the original construction is about 6 inches narrower than it would be under the current code. And the combined setback is less under the current code as well. All that said, the original home structure is not itself the problem because it's lawful non-conforming. But as we'll get into, because of some other issues in the building lines, it helps bring us here today. One reason that we're here today is that a prior owner built a rear addition to the property. That rear addition basically followed the original home's setbacks, but the construction by that prior owner for that rear addition was done without a permit. That's created, among other things, that's created the problems that bring us here today. So we're here in part to legalize that prior rear addition that was there when we bought the property. Another factor is that Mr. Maldonado and his wife were trying to basically expand the attic space into more livable area, obviously for their 4 children, in large part by sort of changing the attic roof line. That expansion, just based on construction requirements, also naturally follows the original home's foundation and brick and side setbacks. And the expansion is going to increase the living area by about 350 square feet. Again, with respect to that south yard setback, following the same line, it's a matter of just under 6 inches. As you'll be aware, the zoning ordinance permits owners to seek approval for expansions in residential floor areas by 15%, which is what we're proposing here. So we're pursuing the variations for the attic expansion to legalize the original rear addition and to legalize our work that, as you can tell by probably some of the photos, our work got ahead of permits as well. Just to mention that rear building addition is really a foundational problem for us. We think that without that issue, we probably could have resolved these matters with administrative adjustments and not bothered you at all. But again, that helps bring us here. I'll also add in passing that the actual building height isn't really changing materially. The home zoning height will still be 5 feet under what would be allowed in the zoning district. We are not aware of any objectors present with me this afternoon. I do have the owner, Either Maldonado and the architect. If I can, I'd like to introduce and talk to Mr. Maldonado. Sir, can you please state your name?
Either Maldonado.
Okay. And you and your wife own the property. You live there now. You plan to continue living there. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Is everything that I just described accurate?
Yes, yes.
And it's a home where you and your family will continue to live. You're not trying to make money or flip it or make a profit. Is that correct?
No. The plan is live here.
Remaining a single family home?
Yes, it's just more space for my family. That's it.
Okay. Well, you were kind enough to provide us an affidavit that we submitted with our proposed findings of fact. If you're asked to testify further, would you testify in accordance with that affidavit?
Yes.
Okay, we'll make him subject to more questions, but if I can, then I'd like to proceed to our project architect. Maybe you can reintroduce yourself, Oana.
Sure. Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, okay. So my name is Juana Hergelejo. I'm a licensed architect and I'm representing Blue Lines Architecture.
So you're familiar with the property, and actually you were sort of the acting project architect on this, is that correct? To solve these issues?
That's right.
Okay. You were, I'll just ask, is it your opinion that basically we would satisfy the variation criteria that we're seeking here today?
That's correct.
Okay, and I want to be careful because the affidavit that was actually provided was from your coworker, Edward Livenew, but you are familiar with that affidavit. You've reviewed the materials, and if you were called upon to testify further today, you would testify in accordance basically with his affidavit, and you'll reaffirm that affidavit. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Just trying to stick to the short form. That's it. I don't. I see. Again, not our alderman. So I think we're done.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I have a question. You talked a little bit about it, but I kind of want to make sure I understand it completely. So there was a second floor rear addition that was added by a prior owner who did not get permits for that, and he basically went up using the same lines of the existing walls for the first floor, right?
Exactly correct. Yes.
Okay, and then what part of this project did Mr. Maldonado start without permits?
So I'll subject myself to correction, but it was sort of the upper floor addition, which was basically taking the attic space and branching out the roof line so that it was more usable space. And the sides of that, again, followed the original brickwork and foundation setbacks.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, we will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we are going to take a matter out of order right now. We are calling, this is the last one on the agenda of the continued cases. We're going to call calendar numbers 339-22-Z, 340-22-Z, 341-22-Z, and 342-22-Z. This is 3425 North Lawndale. If you are here in objection or support, please raise your hand and we will get you promoted.
I'm glad we're doing this because I can see the alderman's driving around his ward. We'll let him get back to work so he can, keep an eye on his ward, Alderman.
Thank you, Sam. I just got in my car. I got no heat either.
Yeah, I can tell you look pretty bundled up there. Well,
Okay, so again, we are calling 339-22-Z, 340-22-Z, 341-22-Z, and 342-22-Z. This is 3425 North Lawndale. We have Counselor Kolpak for this one. And Counselor Kolpak, how many witnesses do you have?
I have two. I have the applicant, Mr. Stan Sobieski, who is the member manager of the 3425 Lawndale Apartments LLC, and our architect, Mr. Alan Leskett.
Okay. Stan, can you state your name and address, please?
Stan Sobieski, Sobieski, 23 Wilmot Road, Bannockburn, Illinois.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
Yes.
Thank you. And Alan, can you state your name and address, please?
Even I've been trying to promote Alan Leskett. He's not accepting, so maybe he has stepped away. Not unmuting either.
See that?
And there was one hand raised, so I promoted someone, Bujakowski.
We're just giving some extra time here just to allow people to come here and support our objection, since we are taking it out of order.
Chairman, it might be wrong in my list, but the list Victor Raza gave me has 351, 352, 353 for the case numbers, but maybe it was just a typing mistake.
The copy of the agenda that I have has 339 to 342-22-Z.
I think there was an earlier version that got corrected.
Okay.
I have Alan Leskett's number from the list. I'll just call him and see if he can come to his desk.
Yeah, I have confirmed. So yeah, the calendar numbers are as I stated, which is 339-22-Z, 340-22-Z, 341-22-Z, and 342-22-Z. Those are the correct calendar numbers. And again, the address is 3425 North Lawndale. Okay. Let's see here. We don't have Alan yet. I do see that we have some other people here. Mr. Bujakowski, are you here in support or objection?
I'm in opposition.
Okay, and could you? I'll swear you in while we wait to swear in the rest of the applicant's witnesses. Could you state your name and address, please?
My name is Ben Bujakowski. I live at 3423 North Monticello, directly across the street from the Monticello entrance to the school. Bujakowski.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I swear to tell the truth. Yes, I affirm that.
Tom Goals, could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Tom Goltz. I live at 3417 North Monticello, again, across from the property. And let's see, what you wanted me to affirm that I will tell the truth?
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. And are you an objector as well?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Let's see. Regina Harris, if you could unmute.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Are you here in support or objection?
In objection, I stand with Mr. Goltz and Mr. Buchakowski.
Okay, could you state your name and address, please?
My name is Regina Harris. I live at 3649 West Cornelia, Unit A. I'm in the townhouses directly north of the school in question.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do, yes.
Thank you. And I can see we've got Alan now. Alan, can you state your name and address, please?
Alan Leskiv, 1701 South First Avenue, Maywood, Illinois.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I swear.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other either supporters or objectors that I have not called? Okay, seeing none. And I do see that we have Alderman Reboyras on. Alderman, did you want to speak in the beginning or at the end?
I'll wait till the end.
Okay, all right. Okay, so since we do have objectors on this one, I want to make sure that everybody knows how this is going to proceed. So we will begin with Councilor Kolpak and the applicant. He will put on his case in chief. And then once Councilor Kolpak and the applicant are finished, we will then go to the objectors to state their objection. And you will also, the objectors will be able
prescription.
The objectors will also be able to ask questions of the applicant. And then we will go back to the applicant for rebuttal and closing, as well as Alderman Reboyras. So with that, Councilor Kolpak, please put on your case in chief in full, since we do have objectors.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Paul Kolpak, office at 6767 North Milwaukee Avenue. I represent the applicant, 3425 Lawndale Apartments LLC. What I would ask that we consolidate the 4 requests for variations for this proceeding.
Yes, that is agreed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The purpose of our variations has nothing to do with zoning. The current property is a single zoning lot with 3 buildings on it. The purpose is to divide this into 2 lots. In the first lot, the top lot, is a school that has not been in use for at least 5 years. This property was purchased by my client. The property, the other piece of property is a church, 2-story church with a 3-story rectory. That property will remain in the ownership of the Catholic Bishop of Chicago. So the purpose here, again, we cannot divide a lot unless all the lots are in conformity. Our hardship here is this property started construction back in 1912. It was completed in 1914. There was no zoning code at that time for the city of Chicago. The city of Chicago's first zoning ordinance was enacted in 1923. In essence, these 3 buildings, or this configuration of 3 buildings, could not have been built under the current zoning code. Therein is our hardship. We have a property that is totally non-conforming, and now we need to divide that. And in order to make the church and the rectory in conformance with the underlying zoning, we are requesting the variations set forth in 339-22 and 340-22. And if you'd like, I'll read those in. The variation to reduce the rear setback from the required 50 feet to 9.83 feet. The north setback from 51 feet, 0.5 to 0 feet, 58 inches. And the south setback from 51.5 feet to 5.36 feet. Also, we need a variation to reduce the rear yard open space from the required 3,468.43 feet to that of 2,179.03 feet. What that would do, if these are granted, it would put the church and the rectory conforming under the current R3 zoning lot. Now, in order to divide it, we also have to have the vacant school in conformity. And in order to do that, we are requesting the variation set forth in 341.22 and 342, which requires us to ask for a variation from the required front setback on North Monticello from 14.27 feet to 8.47 feet, and the south side setback from 18 feet to that of 12.32 feet. And also to increase the FAR from 0.9 feet to that of 1.29. As I mentioned, if these variations are granted, there will be no change to any of these three structures that are currently on the property. What this would allow us to do, of course, is to put it into conformity and then go forward to the zoning board for any further zoning requests. But that's what's in front of this board today.
And just let me just jump in, Councilor Kolpak, for just a second here. So we're dividing the lots, but as far as anything that might be done with these lots, you would have to come back for additional relief. Is that right?
Well, there would be two things. First of all, if we built only in the school, if we'd made no changes to the building at the school, then we would not have to appear in front of you. However, what we would have to do is we would have to go to the planning department and we would propose a plan unit development, which would require to go to the planning department, which would then need approval from plan commission, which would then be going back to the committee on zoning for final approval. And that's where, in my mind, if there's objectors as to the use, or I know I've talked to some of the people and their objections is parking, insufficient parking, that's not what's presented here today. They will certainly have ample time to make those their opinions at both the Plan Commission and the Commission on Zoning, Committee on Zoning.
Okay, thank you. Continue.
That really, like I mentioned, the biggest thing here is the hardship. These three properties could not be built on this site under the current zoning. It was built before we had any zoning code whatsoever. And what we're trying to do is put everything into compliance. And that's the reason for the zoning variations. That if this is approved by the board, the church and the rectory will be in compliance under the R3. The school building will be in compliance under the existing R3 zoning.
Okay, when you put your witnesses on, do go through hardship and also make sure to hit reasonable return as well.
One thing, Mr. Chairman, on the reasonable return is Depending on how this goes in front of the zoning board, we have a preferred development, which is why I think some of the objectives are here, and that is to utilize the existing building as it is with 36 apartments, 18 parking spaces, and 20% affordable. If that is not approved as a planned development, then our alternative is to build under the existing R3 zoning, which would then entail knocking down the building that's currently in and building perhaps single-family homes or some other variation of the amount of units in the church. So it's very difficult at this point to come up with any numbers. We do have some projections, but all I can say is this: if it's not divided, nothing will get built here, and that building will only be able to be used for an existing school, perhaps. So I'm happy to go over those numbers with you if you'd like, but they're very, very speculative because it's not like we're asking what we know what we're going to build here. We certainly believe that we have that, and I can go over those numbers based on our preferred development, which I'm happy to do. Stan, are you available?
Yes.
Stan, you have presented a economic return on this building. And let's start off with the assumption that we're going to get the variations and that we're going to build under the existing building with not changing, preserving that 100-year look of the building. At that point, your cost of the land was about $1.4 million. Your cost of construction is approximately $4 million. And your soft costs and architect's fees, et cetera. So your total cost would be approximately $5.5 million. And you would then rent these out, and your projected rent would be approximately $760,000 a year. So you would be making between a 5% and 6% return on your money if that plan was approved by Plan Commission and zoning. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Stan?
Yes, that's correct.
And you feel that's a sufficient return on your investment and risk, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And without that variation, you would be subject to perhaps just renting the school out, which has been vacant for at least 5 years. And we really don't have, essentially, you would not make as much money as if this was the 36 units. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I have no further questions of Mr. Sobieski.
Thank you.
Could you go a little deeper on, why you wouldn't be able to make a reasonable return on the property now?
Now?
Yeah.
Because under the existing R3 zoning, this property is about 32,000 square feet. That would give us approximately 12 units. The rental on a 12-unit building with a $5.5 million acquisition and development would not support. So you would be looking at, we're looking at 36 units and making between 5% and 6%. If you take that just as kind of a reduction in cost on the same proportions, we'd be looking at making between 2% and 3% on our money.
Okay, thank you. Continue.
Okay. No further questions of Mr. Sobieski. I guess I know we're not looking at the issue of the development today rather than split a lot. If you would like me to go further into the proposed development, we can, but I don't believe that's the topic in front of you today. I'm happy to do it if you would like.
I don't think it's about that. I'm just trying to get on, you know, the reasonable return, the property as it is right now. I mean, is there any reasonable return on the property as it is right now? I mean, what can this property be used for?
It could be used for a school.
Okay.
And we have not looked at, Stan, you've had some conversations with people to rent the school, is that correct?
Yes, we got some people who looking for to rent. Only I got a lady with the private school. The reason because the traffic with the school, the boat street, and I just wait and she find another location because that's gonna be probably.
This school has been vacant between 5 and 7 years. Catholic Church certainly had to abandon it because of lack of enrollment. There has not been a demand when the Archdiocese owned the property for somebody to come into that school. So I think renting out that school, putting it back into a condition would be a very, very insignificant return on the investment.
So the Archdiocese closed the school?
Yes, they closed the school about 7 years ago, between 5 and 7 years ago. And they've been going between St. Wenceslaus and St. Vitus. And they're just, as you probably are aware, in the last couple of years, I know a number of Catholic churches and schools have consolidated, and the Archdiocese has been selling off their properties because there's just not the enrollment in schools, and they're closing their churches because there's not that attendance in the churches.
Excuse me, this is Commissioner Esposito. May I ask a question? Have there been community meetings about the future of this site?
We have not.
I would just say that a school is a community asset, even if it is privately owned. So I'm sort of surprised that you're contemplating all of these things, but we're also hearing from residents that there have not been community or public meetings about what looks like a significant site in this community. So can you describe why?
Well, yeah, there's two reasons. First of all, if there's two parts to this, I agree with you, Commissioner, that one, if we can't divide the property and get these variations, then there's really nothing that's going to go on.
Well, that could happen after a community meeting.
Well, but on the other hand, we agree that once this is done, we agree that we would have a community meeting to determine what should be done on the school lot. Meaning that should it be, should we retain the building? And this would be, I mentioned to the Alderman, be happy to sit down at any time with the community and talk about how their vision of this development would be. But keeping it as a school is probably not, the amount of units. But again, until we divide this up and make this buildable.
You can't have discussions about it?
Well, we can have discussions about it. And
You have done it.
That's my point.
And yes, we can, but I guess the question comes down to the same thing, that if we have discussions, then when we talk to Patrick Murphy, and his thought was we would come here first to divide the property to find out if it could be divided, if the variations would be put in. We certainly, and we would be happy to meet with the community. We've indicated that to set up a time. I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Ben
I'm
Bujikowski.
sorry,
Could-
Mr. Bujikowski, this is
I
not your time.
I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for people to mute their mics because the
Oh.
whole time you've been speaking, it's been a round robin of echoes. No one can hear anything. Thank you.
Anybody who's not speaking should be muted. Counselor, are the church and the rectory still active?
They have, there's one priest that we know of that we've dealt with. He has a Sunday mass here and at St. Vitus. He also has a Saturday evening mass here in St. Vitus. They do funeral masses if requested, but it's not like in the when I was a kid, where were 5 or 6 masses a day at each site. So the priest spends his time between St. Wenceslas and St. Vitus.
Okay, all right, you can continue.
Ellen, would you please state your name?
Okay.
Ellen,
Yes,
could you please state your name?
Alan Laskill.
And Ellen, you're a licensed architect in the state of Illinois, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
And you looked at this property and you're familiar with the standards for variation under the City of Chicago zoning code, is that correct?
Yes, I am familiar.
Alan, can you go into the criterion? This would, in your opinion, would strict compliance with the regulations and standards of the zoning ordinance creates practical difficulties or practical hardships for the subject property?
Yes, it's hardship, but if we provide that 36 unit, we will comply with zoning requirements for that lot.
And the fact that this property as exists under the current R3 zoning could not be built, and none of these buildings are in compliance under the existing zoning code, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, because R3 zoning is single family and 2 units.
And the fact that these difficulties or hardships were due to unique circumstances, the fact that these buildings were built prior to 1923, which was the first City of Chicago zoning code, that is a difficulty, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you've examined the physical surroundings in the area, which is predominantly residential, is that correct?
Yes.
And the purpose is not of this variation is not exclusively for a desire to make money, but we also need to put everything into conformity to put the church, the rectory, and the school, if it's going to be used as a school, into conformity. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And the fact that this was created by being built prior to the zoning code, this was not created by our client. Is that correct?
Yes.
And in your opinion, was the granting of these variations would not be detrimental to the neighborhood? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And in your opinion, the proposed variation would not impair an adequate supply of light and air to the adjacent properties. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I have no further questions of my architect.
Okay. So is that your case?
Unless there's other questions by the commissioners.
Before we go to the objectors, are there any other questions for the applicant?
No.
Yes, I have a question.
I'm sorry, who's speaking?
This is Tom Goltz.
Tom, I meant the board. I'm sorry.
I am sorry.
That's okay.
I'm back on mute.
You'll have your opportunity to ask questions shortly. That's my mistake. I was asking the board. Does the board have any questions for the applicant at this time. Okay, we are going to go to the objectors. Before we do, there were a couple additional people that joined, and I just want to find out who they are. Peter Sterniak, could you unmute, please? Peter?
Yeah.
Are you here in opposition to this matter?
No, I'm on the next case.
Oh, okay.
I did unmute though.
Okay, yeah, you can mute again.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Edward, can you unmute? Edward? Okay, Edward's not unmuting, so we will go to the objectors that we do know. Mr. Buczkowski has had his hand raised, so let's go.
I'm terribly sorry.
Oh, Edward, are you here in a supporter objection?
I'm an objector.
Okay, we will get to you, but I'll swear you in right now. Can you state your name and address, please?
Edward Velasquez, 3437 North Lawndale, Chicago, 60618.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do.
Okay, thank you very much. We will get to you. We're going to start with Mr. Buczkowski, who has had his hand raised. Mr. Buczkowski, this is your time to state your objection, and you can also ask questions of the applicant as well.
Well, thank you. I had my hand raised because of the reverb that still continues and makes it impossible to hear things. But let me first state that Councilor Kolpak's premise on this is that somehow this is the only way to divide and apportion the lot areas between these buildings. And as I understand it, since they were built in 1914 or 1920 or whatever, and there was no zoning court, they were legally constructed at the time. And it's within the zoning board commissioner's power to accept that division of this property would be, although non-conforming, still acceptable under zoning regulations today. And so I'd like to start with some real issues that we've found looking at this, and that would be at the north end of the church. Well, first off, you can see that the division of the land as proposed here is primarily done so as to provide 18 parking spaces, which conveniently are precisely what are needed with the mass transit reduction to provide 36 units in the building. So I think it's disingenuous to believe that there are no other way to look at this, but in the particular development that was developed over the last year and a half, or however long that the applicant has been working on this. I might point out that notification failed here. I know that was taken up earlier, but it's a real issue because we don't have the time to go over this as carefully and accurately as the counselor, his architects, and his clients. So that's putting us on the back foot here. Now, the division between the buildings, whatever it is, should look to supporting the needs of those buildings over time. And the rear setback for the church itself, at bare minimum, this is required to be 12 feet. And frankly, it needs to be 50% of the height of the building. And that, I believe, is reason for requiring that is that these buildings need to have access, maintenance for repairs, various things like that. You can't get scaffolding in there to do the masonry repairs on this if the entire alleyway between the south wall of the school and the north wall of the church is taken up as a driveway. I feel certainly that this meandering Byzantine kind of hacking up of the parking lot of the church is problematic on several levels. The church would lose 8 parking spaces that are currently in existence at the south wall of the school and the north wall of the church, and another at least 3 in the recently built parking lot there. Furthermore, who's going to take care of the driveway? Well, I assume that an easement in perpetuity could be made that allowed both parties to use it. But if that were the case, why can't we divide these properties so that from east to west, you have 12 feet off the taller church building and 4 feet off the shorter school building? And that way, that can travel to the east wing of that church and then continue, or east wing of the school, the stair wing, which is on the west side of the property, and then travel eastward to Monticello Avenue. That way, the church gets to keep their parking spaces. We have a place where the church can still have access to its building for maintenance. If there's a driveway there, you can't do anything. And keep the driveway shared between the southern property and the northern property so that vehicles can access off Monticello, and you can put all the parking required for whatever future development there is in those southern bays. There's certainly enough ceiling height, as the submittal shows on the elevational drawings. Oh, by the way, I'd like to point out that curiously, in spite of Councilor Kolpak's letter saying it's a 3-story building, the amended submittal still calls this out as only a 2-story building with a basement, and that directly affects FAR calculation. In fact, because this is just an idea and not an approved plan, we have no real way to assess this. This is all kind of pie in the sky talking points that we're going through here. And all this affects the FAR for the building. Now, I know that some of the complaints here have been, as Councilor Kolpak called out, parking complaints. But as I understand it, the requirement for parking, off-street parking for any development, is to provide new parking spaces. And the issue with this scheme is that by introducing 2 new crossovers on the east side of Lawndale Avenue for the church, we're going to lose probably at a minimum 3 car spaces at each one. So that's 6 car spaces that are lost to the community. Additionally, by carving up the church, you're just robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're taking existing parking and transferring it from the church's use, which the church needs it. That place fills up every time they have a mass, every time they have a wedding, a funeral, anything like that. They used to have practice for various musical groups and folklore groups there, and all the parking wasn't enough. It spilled over on streets. So parking is one issue that seems to be completely arbitrary and made up here. There is no need to take parking spaces from the church if any future development took into account the intent of the parking law and provided parking on its own, new parking on its own property. And they can easily provide that by the two existing driveways that come off Monticello Avenue and go up the north and south side of the building, because you can, as I said, easily provide parking under the building. The idea that 36 apartments are necessary on the space of the equivalent of 4 2-flats, where you would have 8 apartments, beggars the intellect. This development, the only thing anywhere near like this in the neighborhood is the Florsheim's Shoe Factory redevelopment, Pulaski and Belmont. That's the only one I'm aware of that's been done in the last 10 or 15 years. The density doesn't seem like much when you look at an FAR that's proposed to be 1.29. But I looked a few things up, and in fact, that is at least a 4 standard jump from the RS3 FAR. RS3 gives you 0.9. The typical residential lot around here doesn't even hit 0.6. The 1910 and 1900 style 2-flats that were built are only 1,100 square feet per floor. The lots are 3,750 square feet. That gives you something like a 0.58. That means that you still have another 50% to go before you hit the 0.9 that RS3 gives you. To get to anything approaching like what this project is envisioning, you have to go to an RT4A, which gives you 1.558, but that's only allowed for less than 19 dwelling units, approximately half of what is being proposed here. And 1/3 of those would have to be accessible. The only part of this development that I saw that had something like infrastructure for accessibility was the ramp on the south side of the building, where the 8 parking spaces are currently, and 1 handicap parking space. Now, if you consider that that handicap parking space has to drive in 145 feet from Lawndale Avenue, and once it's in, there's nowhere for it to turn around. You have to back up. You have to wonder how committed this design is to providing safe access for handicapped people. And the same thing goes for the southern parking there. If the cars aren't parked there, then both the north driveway and the south driveway provide through cuts on this block that people will take advantage of to miss the stop sign at Roscoe Street, and for people going north on Monticello to cut around the Lawndale going south. These are not specific to this, but I'd just like everyone to remember and think about this. This is only one imagining of how this building could be reused. As one of the earlier people who spoke said, it might be a school. Well, there are more and more people moving in the neighborhood with children. We'll have more and more kids. Why not a Montessori school? Why not a school for helping handicapped kids? All that could be done without any of the curb cuts off Lawndale Avenue, and that would reduce the future congestion that this scheme builds in. So I just want to point out that we are not against development. We're not even against having more apartments here. But our neighborhood historically, currently, and hopefully for the future is one where people have homeowners living in their own apartments with a renter and stay somewhere in that low density range of 1 and 2 flat RS3 zone densities. So I believe that this is not too, well, how would I say it? I would say this is a little bit of a disingenuous backdoor approach to enshrine the 18 parking spaces that extremely high density development embodies. That even with the mass transit drop, that's another 18 cars in here that basically have just been pulled off the street. And no one's really talked about the strain on the infrastructure that this scheme would do. We already have smells, and pardon me for being so raw about this, you smell fecal matter at Cornelia and Eddy when you drive in on Lawndale. You have similar smells at Roscoe and Lawndale because our sewer system hasn't really been updated since the early 1900s. They did a few manholes they put in and straightened out maybe some connections, but it's sorely undersized. Ever since we had the Wenceslaw Square development, many of us on the second floor apartments have been unable to get water pressure on our second floor, even with the new water main that was provided just a couple of years ago. I think it might not be too difficult to provide electricity in here, but if you're going to say that, oh, there was a school there was plenty of infrastructure for that. Well, you know, little kids going to the bathroom are pretty different from families cooking, showering. The cycle when that use goes through the whole day is very different from what a school might have had. So there's all sorts of issues that have not been addressed by them. And I understand that developers need to have a return on their investment, but I might just say that developers should be cluey enough to understand that not every business investment pays off. And perhaps in this case, that is not the highest and best use of this land. And as I was taught, that's what zoning is about. So, I mean, I've got a lot of other issues with it that have to do with just the development itself, but clearly we can divide this property much more rationally. And I don't want this ruling, whatever you decide, to prejudice the future planned development, because that, I believe, is the true intent of this. Once the applicant gets their approval for these off-site parking spaces that are not new and do not follow the intent of the parking and zoning laws here, the zoning ordinance, that's going to be the way that they approach the planning commission and say, look, we've already got this, we can use this. I think let's do that. Let's do that after we have some community talk. And by the way, I agree fully. There was no reason that this developer could not have come to the community, worked with the aldermen, worked with us, and come up with something that could be a win-win for all of us. I'm sorry for going on. Thank you very much. And I'm done. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Buczkowski. Did you have any, before, I know you said you were done, but you do have the opportunity to ask the applicant questions if you want. Did you want to do that?
Well, do I want to ask questions? Yes, I want to ask, why do we always have to suffer when somebody from out of the neighborhood comes in and decides what I believe, in spite of all the financial mumbo jumbo, the returns, the costs of, look, any accountant you get is going to give you the answer you want, as we can see from the fights in Congress and elsewhere. You just got to put that money malarkey aside and think about what's really good for the neighborhood. And I work as an architect, so I've been thinking about this for a long, long time. I think we need sustainable development. I think we need to raise densities in cities because that's the only way to go. These are far more cities are far more sustainable than any of our suburbs or anything else around there. But why do people come in, they see this and, dollar signs pop up in their eyes? That's, I will leave people who are better at questioning to ask the questions. But thank you. And I return, I don't know what they say. I give my mic back to anyone else who wants it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bujakowski. Let's go to another objector. Tom Goals, you've been here patient. You've sat here patiently. One thing before you start that I just want to say is we've heard a lot from Mr. Bujakowski. If you are just in agreement with Mr. Bujakowski, then you can just state that you're in agreement with him. If you have something new to add, then please add it. But we don't need redundancy is essentially what I want.
I got you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I agree with Mr. Bujakowski. And just to reiterate briefly, what bothered me from the start, what bothered all of us from the start is when the attorney did send us the building plans, it looks like all the changes are keyed around making that 36 unit building happen. That was kind of cut and dried. That's the way they wanted to go about it. Well, you don't make that sort of zigzag zoning changes unless it's for that 36 units. And so that's why I agree with Mr. Bujakowski. The figure about how long the school has been closed, 5 to 7 years, I don't think so. Boy, time goes fast, but not that fast. I'm not sure where you got that. But we've loved the having the Riley School take over from I moved in myself in '94, and we've had the Riley School use that as a unit until a few years ago, and they've always been a good neighbor. It's been good having kids around. It's been good having the basement of the school. We've been able to use it for community meetings, even for voting and for renting. So one thing that Mr. Bujakowski didn't mention, and this is sort of a non-architectural thing, but when I looked at 3 floors of people living in that building and no green space, and nowhere to put a little barbecue pit outside, it's I grew up in the city. Where do you play? And the adults, where do they get together to congregate? It's just stuffing a whole bunch of people in there, and kids are going to play on the street, and God knows what the adults are going to do, but it's really it's weird is what it is. So I will give the microphone up to the next person. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Goals. And you did earlier, you mentioned you had a question. Did you still have a question for the applicant? Because you can ask it if you want. Okay, he's shaking his head no. All right, Mr. Velasquez, if you would like to state your objection for this matter, and again, if you are in agreement with what has been said by Mr. Bujakowski and Mr. Goals, you can state that. And then if you have anything new to add, then please do so, but let's avoid redundancy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I do agree with both, particularly on those technical parts where I'm not an expert. I will say that after the Catholic school shut down for many years, Chicago Public Schools used the school here as a middle school for several years. And then at one summer, there was a kind of high-end daycare summer camp, which worked out really well. I mean, they had everything that they needed. I can speak more of a personal level. My wife and I, we've lived here for 24 years. We love the neighborhood. We love the quiet street. Even when the schools were in session, yes, you had sounds in the morning, maybe when the kids went out to play, and then in the afternoon when they were being picked up. But late afternoon to the evening, very nice and quiet. I feel that this project as is in many ways pie in the sky. You're going to try to fit in so many people. You're going to have at least 2, maybe 3 people to each unit. Even with affordable housing, these units are going to be rented by people who have cars. Often it might be 2 cars. So combine that with the fact that we'll lose parking spaces on the street, and that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Plus, this street is well-maintained, 2 flats, townhomes, single-family homes. It really has a neighborhood feel to it. And to introduce such density and so many cars really destroys the character of this block. And frankly, if it gets to that point and it's super loud all the time, it's going to lower my standard of living here. And I don't want to move. I don't want to do anything else. It's just, I'm real happy here and I want to be able to stay here. Additionally, there was kind of a little bit of a sleight of hand in that I live in the building next door to the school and I did not receive any notice whatsoever. I found out about this through neighbors who had received it on the Monticello side. Now I feel they kind of got around this because they're using the address of the Monticello side. They're not using the address on the Lawndale side, even though the school is bordered by both streets. So for one thing, for sure, there has to be better notification to the community of what's going on and what's happening. So that's my say. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Velasquez. Did you have any questions for the applicant before we move on?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then we've got Regina Harris.
Yes, thank you, Chairman.
So just to avoid the redundancy, you can say you agree with but anything new is good as well.
Well, I absolutely agree with all the things that Mr. Buczkowski said and support what he said and also Mr. Goltz and Mr. Velasquez's feelings. My one question though to the applicant and their people, I do not believe that we've seen any kind of design plan for 36 units in this school building. My sense is that there were 36 classrooms. So we're really looking at very small spaces for individual living spaces. And that I think is problematic. I'd like to see this be a diverse and lovely development that gives people affordable options within our community. But 36 units in this building, I think, is not supportable. If there is a plan, could the applicants please provide it to the community so that we could at least be talking about something realistic? That's really all I have to say.
Okay, all right. Did you have any questions for the applicant before we move on?
Just if there is a design for the actual layout of these units to get a sense of what it is exactly that they're looking to do. We've seen the general drawing of the land, but not their vision of what this development looks like.
Sure. Councilor Kolpak, this has kind of come up a lot in this meeting today. about the lack of, community meeting. And I guess that's a question that, the objector is posing to you, and I'll pose to you as well, is, why haven't you had this community meeting? If that's in fact the case, and, why haven't you garnered more community input on showed them your plans, what you want to do with this property, and kind of have that conversation? Because I think you've got a lot of people that maybe don't know exactly what your plan is. They know it's something big, but they haven't seen exactly what you want to do. And I'm just imagining Commissioner Toya's head might be exploding right now because you haven't had the community meeting that you should have.
Mr. Chairman, can I answer that?
Words taken out of my mouth, Chairman, and I want to hear what the alderman has to say. I was waiting for the alderman.
Yeah.
Look, the folks that are not in agreement with this, they're absolutely right. We need to have a community meeting. Whenever we have a development or a zoning change is needed, we have community meetings, and we're going to do this. You get to do this. You get to beat us up, whatever you want to do in that meeting. That is forthcoming. I assure you, it will happen. The reason we're meeting today is to divide the properties to conform to legal activity and what we want to do with the church. The church is still sitting on the church property. We are going to divide the properties, and then we will move forward to have a community meeting, and you tell us what we want to see in that meeting. That'll happen. That is forthcoming. You will get the letter. Calls to 250 feet. We'll get a letter. Any property owner will get a letter of the community meeting. That is forthcoming.
Thank you, Alderman. And I should have done this before I let you speak. But for the record, for purposes of the record, could you state your name and role, please?
Ariel Roberts, 30th Ward Alderman.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do. And
you recognize that everything you said right before you took that oath was true and accurate, correct?
It is correct.
Okay. Okay. So let's see. Oh, we have another objector, I believe. Janet, if you could unmute. Janet, you need to unmute. If you're on a computer, there should be a button in the lower left-hand corner. Oh, there we go. Okay, are you here in objection?
I am.
Okay, can you state your name and address, please?
My name is Janet Haas, H-A-S-Z, at 3417 North Monticello.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do.
Okay, please state your objection. And again, if you're in agreement with what's been said already, then you can state that. If you have something new to say, then please do.
I certainly am in agreement with what has been stated today, and I have one new thing to say about it. And I gave some photographs. I wonder if those photographs can be seen. I gave them as exhibits. Is that possible or not?
I didn't hear, Chairman.
One second. I think we have them in SharePoint. One moment.
Yes, that's right. Okay. So I just refer you to the first picture first. This is my view out of my front window. So I am right across from the church and the school. Can you show the next picture, please? Is there a way to scroll down here? I don't. Well, okay, I'll tell you what it shows. The rest of the pictures are pictures that I took last Sunday in the church's parking lot. And here shows the cars that are just south of the school, filling up the 8 parking places that the church has there on Sunday morning for their service. That is exactly the area where the developer wants to draw the line right next to the church, the back of the church, taking away all of these parking places. And I have other pictures here of the church parking lot being full. There were 57 cars in the church parking lot, but last Sunday. And so this church is a going church. It's active and it needs a chance. And I think that the way that the developer wants to divide up this property is totally disrespectful to the church, to St. Wenceslas, making the dividing line right behind the back of the church. Here's the church parking lot being filled. Making the dividing line right behind the back of the church is very disrespectful to St. Wenceslas and to its future. It is a going church and it needs to be respected. More parking that took place last Sunday. More parking, you can see. It's a well-used parking lot. 11 of those spaces, the way the division is set up now, would be taken away. Also, one more point, allowing the division and the floor ratio to be increased means that almost all the basement of the building would have apartments in it, instead of having a meeting place for people in the building or even a meeting place for people from St. Wenceslas. It seems that in respect to the church, a place could be set aside in the church basement, maybe even the church renting it, so that there is a place there for people from St. Wenceslas to gather, as they have been over the years, and to hold catechism for all the children who are in the 8th grade and who now have to go over to St. Viator for catechism. My neighbors would like to keep these things here. I think that this division of the property is not respectful to the church. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Haas. And before I move on, did you have any questions for the applicant?
No, I do not.
Okay. And I see now we have a Scott Young. You can unmute, sir.
Thank you. My name is Scott Young.
Are you here in objection?
I'm here in objection.
Can you state your name and address, please?
Yes, Scott A. Young, 3449 North Lawndale Avenue. We're adjacent to the church property.
And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in today's proceedings?
I do, sir.
Okay, so please try to avoid redundancy. We've heard a lot, but if you have something new to add, please do so.
I just wanted to be on record as an additional objector, just for the record, but I do agree with all the previous people that have spoken on many great points. I I understand that I'm for reuse of property and I understand rezoning will be necessary, but I think the rezoning should be done with respect to what it's, I think the developers, they already have the ultimate purpose all figured out. And I think we should figure out what the building's going to be used for, and then they can decide how to divide the property.
Okay, thank you very much. Did you have any questions for the applicant?
Well, and just one more point, they mentioned in their proposal that they were going to do some affordable apartments, but my guess is that those affordable apartments will be in the basement. And the only view that those people will have, because there's no green space, will be the tires of the cars that are parked out in front of their windows. I just think it's just not a great plan.
Okay.
Thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you.
I have no questions.
All right, do we have any other objectors that haven't been heard already? I think we have heard from all of the objectors. Councillor Kolpak, this is your opportunity for rebuttal, and we will also see if Alderman Raboyris has any final comments as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Alderman Raboyes. When we spoke about this, Alderman Raboyes made it very clear that should we get this divided, should this then be buildable, that we would then have a meeting with the community and talk about further development. If these variations are not approved, then there's not going to be any development here. We would then have to knock down this beautiful building, and I really did not want to get into that today. So suffice to say that I agree with the Alderman, and that is that if we can get the variations so we can divide the lot, we would certainly be happy to have community input into this project. As to Mr. Young, Mr. Young, the affordable, the way this would work, if we're going to do this plan, you submit it to the department, they then decide which units are going to be affordable. They tend to do a mix. So if it were 8 units, let's make it easy, 6 units, you would probably get one in the one of the smaller units in the basement, one of the larger units in the basement. Same thing on the first floor and same thing on the second floor. The developers do not get to choose. As far as Ms. Haas, this was the property that the Catholic Church put out to sell. Based on further, the Alderman asked me to look into whether or not the Catholic Church would be willing to sell more property so we could get more parking spaces on there. The Archdiocese indicated to us in no uncertain terms that they were not willing to sell any other property. But again, I think we're going to the end product and focusing on that. Before we get to the end product, we need to know if we can even get there. And that's what I believe is in front of you today. Can we divide this lot? If we can divide the lot, the Alderman and my developer will be happy to meet and see if we can work out a compromise with the community, get their input and go forward. But as of right now, we have no right to go forward.
But you have every ability to discuss a potential plan with your community.
Well,
I feel like what you just said, you're kind of using this historic building as, I don't know, you're a threat. You're saying you're going to tear it down if you don't get your way in this hearing. Is what you just said.
No, that's not what I meant. If I said it, I apologize. That's not what I meant. What I meant was when we looked at these buildings, we thought that these buildings would be, the best use of these buildings would to keep them exactly the way they are. You know, whether it's going to be 36 units, 18 units, 12 units, that, whether it's going to be a school, that can all be subject to discussion with the community. What I'm saying, it's not set in stone. Again, the presentation today was to see if we could divide this. If we can't divide it, we're not going anyplace. We're not going to do, we just can't build. And that was the purpose of the meeting. And when Ms. Haas called me, I did send anybody who asked me, and I think Ms. Haas, you will agree, you called, and I think there were 2 or 3 other people. I sent plans to everybody. Whatever I had, I sent out. You know, could we have had a meeting earlier? I absolutely agree with you. We could have. For whatever the reasons were, we didn't do it. We will not go forward, obviously, without it, for any zoning change, without a meeting with the community and getting their input. And my developer has indicated to me the same.
Are there any other questions from the board at this time? Okay, I'm not hearing any. Alderman Raboyris, did you want to say anything before we take this under advisement?
Yes, please. I want the community to understand that we do not have meetings for zoning changes until we're ready. We're not ready yet, and you will have a say so. That is, I'm not trying to jam this to anyone. That's not how I operate. And although I'm leaving in 5 months, I'm going to make sure that the community is happy with whatever we decide to do with this project. Chairman, thank you so much. Thank the commissioners, and thanks to the folks who spoke today, the objectors. It makes sense. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Alderman. Thank you, Councilor Kolpak, and all of the objectors and the applicant, everyone. I do appreciate the robust discussion here. We will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone. Be well, be safe.
Thanks, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, we're going to take a short recess. I move that we take a recess until 5:10. Commissioner Toya seconds. Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Toya?
Yes.
All right, we are in recess until 5:10.